Hey, I'm Mia Hemstad. I'm a wife, I'm a mom of 2 kids, and I'm a trauma-informed self-care coach. I also live with diagnosed PTSD and depression. I started sharing my mental wellness journey online in 2017 when I was diagnosed with postpartum depression and anxiety. And since then, I've heard from hundreds of women who all struggle with the same thing, putting ourselves last. This is a struggle that's keeping so many women burned out and unhappy, through no fault of our own, by the way. I've been working on my own healing as an abuse survivor since 2013. But when I became a mom, I really started to do the inner work of figuring out why I was putting myself last and how to start prioritizing myself for the first time in my life. This podcast is about sharing all of those lessons with you. So if you're interested in hearing honest stories, life advice, and inspiration that encourages you to make your health, happiness, and well-being a priority, then definitely stick around. Welcome to your No Longer Last journey. Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today's a very important topic and one I take super seriously, so thanks for tuning in and listening. I'm going to be talking about how to overcome mom guilt. Mom guilt is honestly an epidemic in motherhood. It affects so many of us and it's just normalized. Like we're joking about it at this point. Like, oh yeah, I slept in for 1 hour and asked my husband to make breakfast, but I feel horrible now. And now I feel like I need to, watch the kids for 4 weekends in a row while he goes golfing so that I can make up for the fact that I got to sleep in 1 hour. Like literally moms are joking about it. And I appreciate the humor because I love to laugh through a hard thing too. But in all seriousness, mom guilt is something that is crippling and makes us feel horrible and steals the joy of motherhood and steals the joy of living away from us. And I really want us to work through this collectively because we don't deserve this. You don't deserve this. Mom guilt is something that I wrestled with a lot in my early journey of working through postpartum depression and anxiety. And there's a couple of things practical that helped me overcome it. And I'm excited to share that with you today. So the first thing that I want to set us up with, and this is something Brene Brown taught me, love everything she's created. But the first thing is that guilt is a helpful emotion when you've done something wrong. Guilt is a helpful emotion when you've done something wrong. So when I yell at my kid because I didn't sleep well and I have a short temper, my kid was acting like a kid. They threw their milk on the floor because they're also having a bad morning. Should I have yelled? Was that a good thing to do in that moment? No. Then I feel guilt. That guilt signals to me that I did something wrong and that I need to repair with my child and say, I'm really sorry. I should not have yelled at you. Can we clean up this milk together? Next time you feel upset, use your words and tell me how you're feeling. Please don't throw the milk on the floor. That's when guilt is useful, when we've done something wrong. The problem is a lot of us are feeling guilt for literally doing basic things like taking care of ourselves. That is not okay. The reason why we're feeling this way is because of centuries of conditioning, patriarchal and societal, that have taught us that moms need to be martyrs. We're supposed to be selfless. We literally constantly hear the narrative of moms putting ourselves last, being selfless, getting no sleep. We constantly hear mom stories of, oh, my mom woke up at 4 a.m. and cooked us all home cooked meals from scratch before she went and worked all day. And then she stayed up till midnight deep cleaning the kitchen so that we could all wake up to a clean home in the morning. My mom was just the most selfless person. Did anybody ask that mom if she needed a helping hand? Did anybody ask that mom if she wanted to sleep in? Did anybody ask that mom if she actually wanted to do that? No, because it's expected. And that level of expectation has been passed down and passed down and passed down. And we live in a current society where a lot of us have to live on 2 incomes. Both parents are working. We do not live in 1950s romanticized America where mom stayed at home and the husband was the breadwinner and there was enough money for a middle-class family to have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house and a garage, okay? That's not how we're living. But the way we approach motherhood hasn't caught up with the current reality of our lives. And the current reality of our lives is that moms have to, number 1, ask for what we need, and number 2, rewrite the rules around what we're allowed to have. because we shouldn't feel guilty about having needs and wants, because that is basic to being a human being. So that's the first thing I want to remind you of. When you are doing something for yourself, whether it's taking a long bath, sleeping in, taking a dance class, meeting up with your friends for coffee without your children, and you feel guilt, the first thing I want you to ask yourself is, am I doing something wrong? Am I hurting someone? Am I being malicious? And I don't mean am I hurting someone like I've known someone in the past whose husband would make her feel so bad if she just asked for a 1-hour break from watching the kids on the weekend because he wanted to go golfing. He made her feel like she was doing something wrong, but was she objectively doing something wrong? No. So this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about objectively doing something wrong. Was she objectively doing something wrong? Are you objectively hurting your family when you take time for yourself? The answer is no. So whenever you feel that guilt creep up, which by the way, it's a physical feeling. Sometimes it's in the chest, sometimes it's in the stomach. Notice it. Name it. I feel guilty right now. Am I hurting someone? Did I do something wrong? And if the answer is no, this is the next affirmation mantra I want you to repeat to yourself. This guilt is not mine. This guilt is misplaced. I have done nothing wrong. This guilt is not mine. This guilt is misplaced. I have done nothing wrong. That guilt was handed to you by patriarchy. That guilt was handed to you by societal expectation that you should be selfless always so that everyone can operate on your unpaid, selfless, superhuman labor that's killing you. The entire world would shut down if moms actually demanded pay and a break. If we demanded paid time off and paid sick days, people wouldn't know how to operate because right now our current economy, particularly in the West, runs on women's unpaid labor. It runs on moms pumping out babies, taking care of those babies, running homes, and going to work and being tax-paying citizens. We cannot continue to shoulder this misplaced guilt. It is misplaced. It doesn't belong to us. So what I would do every time I felt that guilt rise up in my stomach is I would go, am I doing something wrong? No. This guilt doesn't belong to me. This guilt is misplaced. And I would literally close my eyes and I would visualize the guilt, usually as a massive bag of heaping garbage, like literally a black trash bag. And I would imagine a dumpster opening up and me throwing the guilt in the trash and setting it on fire. I know that sounds pretty violent, but I was blowing it up. This guilt is not mine. It doesn't belong to me. This guilt is not yours. It doesn't belong to you. And carrying it around is hurting you. It is exhausting you. I hear from a lot of moms who say, when I try to practice self-care, the guilt is so heavy that I feel almost worse having practiced the self-care. I feel so guilty when I'm out trying to enjoy myself that when I come home, I feel just as bad. And that's because you are carrying around guilt that does not belong to you. But the thing is that it doesn't just go away overnight because centuries of patriarchy and societal conditioning and religious conditioning around moms being self-sacrificial martyrs doesn't go away with one affirmation. This is something that has to be practiced. There are still some things that make me feel guilty, but there's also a lot of things that I don't feel guilty about anymore, and it's because I've practiced it. So know that it takes time and that you're going to go through this process one thing at a time. The next thing I want to share with you is that our children learn more from our behavior than from our words. And when I confronted that truth, I realized I don't want my son or my daughter to grow up with a mom who always sacrificed herself, or a dad. I remember my parents constantly putting themselves last in so many ways because they believed that good parents sacrificed themselves, that was what God wanted. That's what they believed. I wanted so badly for them to do what made them happy because that happiness would have given positive energy in their parenting. Instead, they were miserable, resentful, angry people. And I felt that every single day. And it made me feel unwanted and unloved and like a burden. Your kids want you to be happy, and you're showing them what being an adult means. We want to raise our kids to be adults that know that it's okay to meet their own wants and needs. That it's not only okay, that it's healthy, that it's crucial for good mental health. And so we want to make sure that we're modeling that behavior. So on days when it feels really hard to prioritize yourself, I want you to think about your kids. And I know some people say, don't do it for your kids, do it for you. Don't do it for other people, do it for you. But for those of us who are abuse survivors, sometimes the only thing that motivates us to take care of ourselves is the impact it has on our kids. I didn't start this healing journey because I wanted to take care of me. I'm being totally real with you. I started this healing journey because I wanted my kids to have a mom that they deserved. A good, healthy, stable mother. That's why I started it. Now I do a lot of things for me, but it's okay if sometimes your only motivation is the people that you love and the people who love you. So remember that you are always modeling to your kids what they get to feel good about and what they should feel bad about and what's right and what's wrong. And taking care of yourself should never be a cause of guilt because there is nothing wrong with doing that. The next thing I want to share is that, and this I just shared this in a coaching call last month. I had a client who shared that she wanted to start dance class, and she said that her husband is encouraging her to keep going because it makes her so happy and it's something that's just for her, that gives her joy. And she was like, I'm starting to feel guilty about that. You know, he's encouraging me, he's happy to do that, but all I can think about is how he's going to be, you know, home alone, doing the dinner, bath, bedtime routine with our two young kids. And I remember feeling that when I started dance class, because my dance class started at 8:30, and that's when my kids were doing their bed and bath time routine. And I know how hard it is when you have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old and they're running around butt naked and they won't listen and they won't brush their teeth and they're fighting bedtime. And I felt bad leaving my husband to do that. And I'm like, oh, should I cook dinner in advance and do all this extra work to make up for the fact that I'm leaving for dance class? And I really had to work through that. And so when she brought that up, I was so ready to talk to her about it. And I said, I want you to choose gratitude over guilt. Whenever you feel guilty that your partner is taking on something so that you can have joy, so that you can meet a need that you have or a desire you have, when that guilt rises up, I want you to choose gratitude over guilt. I want you to think to yourself, man, I'm so lucky that I have a partner who cares so much about me that they're willing to take on this extra labor so that I can have a free night, so that I can do something fun. And express that gratitude to your partner. I used to feel bad when I had depression so debilitating. I was bedridden for 6 months and my husband was doing everything. And I felt really bad about it. And now, through that process, I learned to look at my husband and say, Jan, thank you. Thanks for taking care of me. And it just alleviated that guilt and it made him feel so appreciated. And then guess what? When he needs something, I'm happy to do it. But I'm not running around trying to do extra work and extra labor to make up for the fact that I took time and space. Because I deserve to take up space and you deserve to take up space. So please choose gratitude over guilt. Recognize that a lot of that guilt is misplaced, and you should only feel guilty about something if you are actually doing something wrong. I hope that episode helped you today. I want to remind you that I send helpful tips, advice, and personal life reflections on being a mother who lives with mental health challenges in my weekly newsletter. You can sign up for free at miahemstad.com/letter, and I put that link where all the links are. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm excited to see you in the next episode. Bye.
Hey everybody, exciting news. I am teaching a workshop for the very first time on Sunday, April 6th, all about my 4 B's of self-care and how to prioritize self-care as a busy mom. I just taught this workshop for the first time to a private group last month, and it got rave reviews. People were saying it was revolutionary and that it's changing the way they think about self-care. Because I'm all about the fact that self-care doesn't solve all your problems, but it does help you handle your problems from a place of strength instead of depletion. So if you want an approach to self-care that actually helps you show up for yourself alongside the challenges of your everyday life, whether that's mental health conditions, taking care of kids, demands at work, this workshop is going to give you one practical thing that you can do on a regular basis is going to change the game for you. So I hope you'll come. Email list folks will get a registration link first. There's a limited number of seats. So if you really want to be there, make sure you're on my email list so that you can grab one of those spots early. I cannot wait to teach this to an even wider group of people. I know it's going to change your life, and I can't wait to see you there.